Straight to the papers now. Clément Bonneray is here today having a look at what's in the papers. Something that's affecting us all here in Paris, actually, is kicking it off, isn't it? Pollution levels caused by so-called fine particles. They've reached a new high, haven't they?
Yes, that's right. You can take a look at the photo on the front page of 20 Minutes. You can see the famous golden dome of Les Invalides, but you can't see much apart from that. Well, that's because Paris is literally cloaked in smog. There you can see it. And this is having an impact on public health. Just read this headline, La fumée tue, the smoke kills, literally. It's a play on words, obviously. It sounds like fumée tue or smoking kills, which you usually find on packs of cigarettes.
So what are they actually trying to do then, Clément, to reduce the pollution here in Paris?
Well, that's precisely the question being asked by a Catholic paper, La Croix today. What are we waiting for? Now, the government has implemented a series of measures to tackle the problem. Most famously, Paris, as well as two other cities in France, Lyon and Villeurbanne, have banned the circulation of vehicles with even-numbered or odd-numbered plates, depending on the day. The measure has somewhat helped bring down pollution levels in the past, but La Croix in its editorial says it's not a long-term solution. They say that car pollution is not the only source of pollution and that the government should work on trying to upgrade public transport in major cities across the country.
And it looks like the local authorities and the government, they're both at loggerheads at each other, aren't they? Blaming each other for this current pollution levels.
That's right. Let's take a look at an article from Libération, the socialist newspaper. If we can have it. The headline reads, Tous ensemble. Tous ensemble. Now, it's quite difficult to translate, but basically it's a pun on the word tous, T-O-U-S, which means all or together, and the verb tousser, which means to cuff. So you can read the title, this headline, as either we're all in it together, or alternatively, let's all cuff together. Except that actually the latest pollution spike is dividing the French political class, as you said. In this article, we read that Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, who's a socialist, wants to ban all diesel vehicles from the city by 2025. But Valérie Pécresse, the head of the Paris-Île-de-France region, who's a right-wing politician, disagrees and thinks that the government should invest more in public transport to provide reliable alternatives to commuters. Meanwhile, Ecology Minister Ségolène Royal is being criticised for not doing enough. She hasn't spoken since the beginning of the current pollution spike.
OK, well, let's move on now to another form of pollution that's not only affecting Parisians, also affecting tourists, this one, isn't it?
Absolutely. Local authorities have raised the alarm. The city of Paris, and particularly parks and beautifully manicured gardens, are infested by rats. Now, the mayor of Paris has launched a plan to get rid of the unwanted rodents. Several major landmarks will have to be closed during the operation, which could take up to 2 weeks, and that's including the famous Champ de Mars, right in the heart of the French capital. You can see those beautiful little rats here.
How lovely they are. Now, let's move on to revelations by the newspaper Le Monde. Now, this is saying that American and British intelligence services spied on phone calls. These phone calls actually made on commercial flights.
That's right. It's on the front page of Le Monde. The newspaper says that the NSA and its British equivalent, the GCHQ, were able to intercept and collect data from in-flight phone calls in near real time. Le Monde's revelation is based on a series of top-secret documents leaked by Edward Snowden and analysed by The Intercept. The newspaper says that dozens of commercial airlines were targeted, including Air France, which drew particular attention from British and American intelligence services because Air France flights were considered to be possible terrorist targets.
OK, it's going to end in France. The media getting very, very excited, of course, about next year's presidential election, but the outcome still more uncertain than ever, really.
That's right. Polls predict a very tight race. The leader of the Front National, the National Front, Marine Le Pen, is still ahead in the polls, closely followed by Republican candidate François Fillon, who, according to L'Opinion, is working hard on trying to reconcile his party after a very divisive primary. The newspaper reports that he's appointed former aides of defeated candidate Alain Juppé, the mayor of Bordeaux, to key positions in his campaign team. And by doing that, he's addressing fears that centrist voters who were disappointed not to see Alain Juppé Juppé getting the nomination of his party, will not vote for Fillon and instead choose Emmanuel Macron, the former economy minister, who has said he is running as an independent.
It's highly complicated, isn't it? What about the left, then?
Well, it's equally, it's as complicated as it is on the right, really. Things are very much up in the air. L'Opinion reports that Prime Minister Manuel Valls, who announced his candidacy earlier this week, is struggling with his own lack of popularity within the Socialist Party. He's seen as being too conservative, too right-wing. And meanwhile, another candidate is hoping to bring together the party, Vincent Payon. He's a former education minister. He's a former spokesperson of presidential candidate Ségolène Royal, and he is popular within his own party, where he's seen as both a reformist. He actually led a reformist movement in the 90s to reform the Socialist Party, and he's also someone who's loyal to left-wing ideas, unlike Manuel Valls. And that's what a lot of left-wing voters think.
OK, well, we shall see which one of them comes out on top. It's going to be a fascinating political few months here in France, I think. Thanks very much, Clément. Clément Bonnereau with the papers on France 24.